I've been working on getting you to understand what you're doing when you're sitting on the cushion. And it's very, very subtle what you're doing on the cushion. You are not meditating. This is the biggest hurdle to overcome, the very subtleness that's there, that mind is there as you're meditating on the cushion. This is where the principle and the practice meet. The principle has to be there in order for there to be what Huaynian calls subitism, the sudden illumination of the mind. And it is this sudden illumination of the mind that is very, very important. The sudden illumination of the mind is that you are not there, that you are on the side of phenomena, and held in this in the Dharmakaya. You are an appearance, and this appearance is one that
More than 8%.
that okay. Somebody's speaking, so be careful. Mute your phone or computer. It's very, very subtle because we don't negate the idea of the self. As the Buddha said, it's not self. Self nevertheless belongs to mind. But when we understand this principle and we sit to meditate, then we are very quiet. There's nothing that we need to do. We do not succumb to the idea that there is this life or a being that is thinking and sitting. Once we begin to sit in this way, that there is somebody that's sitting, it's the long way around the mountain, because you have to overcome this and eventually come to the point where you go, there's nobody there. And this is where the one bodhisattva said, after 5 kalpas of practice, and he understood what happened, and he was so amazed and said, had I had the opportunity to do it again, knowing what I know now, I never would have wasted 5 kalpas to do it. And because it is something that is a slow erosion of the self. So as you're sitting there and saying, don't think, or sitting and trying to be quiet, slowly it erodes. So you get to the same place. It's a matter of how much time it is. And this is why the ancient masters talked about this as a shortcut, because it goes directly to mind. And we begin to understand that with our book knowledge, but we really don't understand how to practice that. And it is something that's very essential in terms of the practice. And this is something that the next time I have a retreat, and the few times till the end of the year, I will be presenting, is this very subtleness of the meditation, that when you approach the cushion, the mind is just mind. It follows the function of sitting down, crossing the legs, putting the towel around you, adjusting, and then just that's it. That function is completed, and the mind is is present. We cannot say that the mind is looking at mind, even though I say that. I say that so that you don't have the self looking at mind, but it's like the ocean looking at the ocean. There is no viewpoint there in the right view. There is just the right view is understanding that everything is mine. But there is an essence there that is not nihilistic. It's not something that we are thinking, oh, well, then what does it matter if everything is mind and everything is this way? It still matters. And there's, if somewhere along in the summer, I might revisit the child radiance, and the because the Buddha is explaining why it matters, and why it matters is that there's still illusory sentient beings that are suffering, even though they're illusory sentient beings. It matters to the Buddha. It is as if one had a rock in their shoe, and we go, this body is a dream body. It doesn't matter anything. Why does it matter? You know, but the body knows there's a discomfort there, even though it's just a tiny little rock or pebble of sand in your shoe. It matters. It understands that in the whole scope of things in terms of mind, it's infinitesimally small, but it's infinitesimally important as well. And this is what mind is. Mind doesn't operate on the scale that appears in samsara. The scale that appears in samsara is a scale that is related to measurements of appearances. All of those appearances appear in mind. So how can we measure it and say mind goes from here to here? It doesn't go that way. And it is important for us to understand that is how mind is beyond the ability of us to be able to conceive of it. And so as we're sitting, we simply just sit very still. There is no you there. There is just simply mind. And mind is something that is sitting, it's quiet, but it's observant, it's aware. And it isn't that we fall into this dead cave. We don't try to make the thoughts go away. In due time, the thoughts will dissolve, but it's not important because as we get up off the cushion, we still need thoughts. We still need thoughts to function and course through this world. But we do not course through this world via ignorance. We course through the world with this deep prajna paramita, this deep wisdom that's there. When we sit, likewise, we're coursing in the deep prajna paramita. We hear people talking about lectures, we read the sutras, read the treatises. We don't put it on the cushion. And that's where it's essential. When we can sit and simply let go of thoughts, let them go by. I had recently written something on the mind work forum of these cascading thoughts. And I changed it up because we always talk about arising thoughts, but I figured I would change the direction for you and have these thoughts that are cascading in, so that you don't think that there's a direction to this from this way to that way, or whereas enlightenment, oh, it goes that way, and you turn left, at the vexations, and then you keep going. It isn't in this way. So if you think of these thoughts that are cascading, if you pick one out, then that's mine. What we have to do is sit so subtly, so quietly, that we can perceive, and I say when we, again, it's a trap, when mind can perceive the slightest movement in mind. It is the awareness that we have that we are aware. The awareness does not interfere with the appearances within it. If there are sacred or profane appearances, this awareness sees them in a state of equipoise because it knows that fundamentally it's pure. And it's just simply the ignorance that we cannot see this world as pure. Very difficult for us because we go, yeah, but how can you say that when there's so much killing and there's so many things happening? It is that that is the interest of a Buddha to to resolve. But knowing that these things are impermanent, that they're illusory. When we begin to practice in this way and see the world in this way, it changes things. It changes how we we deal with other people. It changes as to the the time that we have. It would have been very easy for me to say, you know what, heck, forget about it today. I'm not going to do this. I was involved in another thing before coming back to try to work on the internet, but I just kept working on it and working on it. Why? Because maybe just something that I say today, maybe might trigger someone in this class. It matters. It matters in this way. And so we cannot say it doesn't. And so this is the vigor that we have, the right effort to try to do it. This was something that I wanted to talk about. The rest I can wait for other times. But this point of sitting, and again, I wish I could give you this moon. I cannot do that. I can only offer to you how to get there. And if you follow it, it will be there that when you're sitting, it's mind sitting, mind at rest. It becomes aware of all of the thoughts that come up, not only the thoughts, but the ideas which can turn into thoughts and the potentiality of thoughts that are there. And when the mind is aware of that, that potentiality is also a karmic force that's invisible, which makes it more difficult to spot, which is the ego, which is pulling these in, and it's pulling it in and weaving it and thinking that this is the world. And it weaves this web that it too gets stuck in. But is the spider free? It entraps the flies, but a spider webbing, weaving a web, beginning to sound like Elmer Fudd, but weaving a web is entrapping itself. It cannot go beyond the web. I think there's probably a lot of young people that are entrapped by the web too. But that's another story. But it cannot go beyond the web. It's stuck there. But it believes that it is its world. Everything is suspended on it and dependent upon on this intricate web that it has weaved. But it's an illusion. It is something that's temporary. If something comes by, it can sweep the web away. In due time, the web will weaken. The spider cannot be there, but we understand that. There's in Dharma Drum at the retreat center, at the dormitories, right in the entrance where the teachers enter the dormitories, there is a little spot that I know that there will be a black widow there every time I go. Now, it's not the same black widow. It's generation after generation after generation that has used and spun its web there. Now, some people would say, you should kill it. It's dangerous. What if it went inside? It doesn't go inside. It's limited to its web. I have pity on it because it is confined to living in this little dark area that behind a power box and then comes out and spins its web. But I know the spider that I see is not the same one. It would be the oldest spider in history. But yet there they are because of causes and conditions and habitual tendencies. We can say that that goes for generations, generations in families, or a generation of a thought to another thought. It is all the same. We don't see things like that. This is wisdom. And when we sit and the mind is sitting in wisdom, it is wisdom. It needs nothing, nothing to take away, nothing to reach for or achieve. When you sit, just simply sit. I know I've been repeating this and repeating this, but it's important for you to get the understanding of what just sit means. It is not that you're becoming comatose. Quite to the contrary, it is a clarity of the mind. It's clear about what it is doing and what is arising in mind, even though it doesn't have does not pay attention to those things that are arising in mind or cascading through. If there was an alarm bell, it would be clear about it. It's time to get up and find out, is there a fire? But if there's nothing there, or if somebody's in the room and they cough, that has nothing to do with you. You just sit, or birds flying by in the sky. Your mind should not go out to an image of all these beautiful geese flying by in formation. They're not flying by for you. They're in mind. They are just cascading through. We see those in what's called the state of equipoise. It's very important for you to understand the state of equipoise is not a samsaric state. It is a state that it is mind simply devoid of egotistical notions. So everything is seen as it is clearly, whether it is a scene of violence or a scene of love, it is seen. It's clear. And the mind measures without measuring what is the appropriate response to whatever is appearing, whether it's an image on your TV or it's somebody on the road that crashed and you want to see if there's a dead body hanging out of the car. You guys are snoopy. Don't do that. You don't have to. You maybe do recitation, send blessings to whoever it is, even if it's a person with a flat tire. My God, have you ever had a flat tire when you needed one the least? And it can really affect you. All of these things are seen in a state of equipoise. It is just the way that things happen in this world, but they're all connected. Because they're all connected, there's neither a two or a one. It is just connected. And when we sit, we're sitting connected with everything, not just the world. We're so egocentric. We want to anthropomorphize even the Buddha and to think that the Buddha was one of us. The historical Buddha had a body like us, but realized that there is no us. There is mind. This is the liberation. When we sit and just sit with holding the method in a state of equipoise, you're going right to the very beginning of the line, the front of the line. If you don't, and you're sitting there with the idea of kind of like in the back of the line and going, I wonder what's up there. I wonder, how close am I to the front of the line and what will be there? You'll always be in the line, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. My theme this year has been that never before have you been so close. What does that mean? Lifetime after lifetime of spinning webs. Never before have you been so close to being released from this web or seeing it as it is. Even saying release from it is ridiculous from the other side. And even saying from the other side is ridiculous because there's no releasing. The liberation of the saints, of the bodhisattvas, is just seeing things as they are, the reality, the clarity of mind. Nothing was added to it, nothing was deleted from it. Even if we talk about the ego, we talk about the suffering of the ego. Just words, they're just concepts. They can't get us there. It is like you want to take a toothbrush and clean the road in front of you. How long will that take? But in your heart, if you could see, the road never needed cleaning. In a snap of the fingers, it's pure. When we sit with this understanding, this platform principles, we're liberated from the very moment that we sit. From that very moment, we lack nothing. We need nothing. For most people, that lasts about a microsecond. Seriously. Sometimes I ask people, how long does that last? And they'll say, oh, it can last a period or two periods. And that's baloney. They're just kidding themselves. And that's the biggest joke, is they don't even exist. To say something in this way, thoughts are constantly coming in, cascading. And the reason I use this of cascading is that it never stops, just like Niagara Falls. All of these thoughts are coming, but it doesn't matter. They can't harm you. They cannot affect mind. Mind is what produced them. In a moment, it all stops. Only for you. But if you're sitting and you're very quiet and you're meditating, not clinging to anything, but aware, not in a dark, dead cave, but you're aware. You're clearly aware of what is arising. That thought lasts 1,000 years, 10,000 years. It's timeless. I can't give you that. I can only tell you where to find it, how to find it. But you have to experience that. You have to be fearless. You have to put down. And again, when I'm saying you, there's not even a you that's there. Put down the idea that this mind has a human being that's attached to it. You're like a wart on the side of the face of the Buddha, thinking that you want to become the Buddha. Just actually, it's a fake wart. Just wipe it off. It's gone. How you wipe it off is with wisdom, understanding how mind works. It is imperative that we do this. Some people want to go the long way around. I would rather have you practice sincerely, really practice. I'm talking about practicing. My goodness, some of you are very lazy. Others are just lackadaisical. Others think that they have all the time in the world. Some of the best practitioners that I see around you guys are old guys and old women because they may not be at the end of the world, but they can see it from where they're standing. And so they understand what it means to practice as if your head was a flame. Important. Others understand it right away. They get it. From the heart, they practice. As I'd been mentioning for several weeks, who do you serve? Who do you serve? You serve mind. This body, its value is in serving mind. You go, well, where's mine? Everywhere. Everywhere. Excuse me, do you have some time? Yeah, I do. Can you help me with this? Yes, I can help you with that. No, if you're asking me to hold your bong pipe like a marijuana pipe or opium pipe, no, I don't have time for that. But whatever I can do to help you to serve, I'm serving mine just in this way. When you sit to meditate, you serve mind. It's a different way of approaching things. But we always approach the cushion thinking this is going to hurt, especially when you're in a retreat. Oh, this is going to hurt. Who of you has gone to a retreat and not entertained that thought ever before? Raise your hand. And I'll show you a liar. You're good looking at it and you just go, oh my gosh, but you have to let that go. And those who have let it go have realized there may be pain there, but there's no suffering with it. It's different. The suffering is only when the ego is around. But I'm digressing from this important point, this very moment when you sit to meditate. In that moment, it is critical, so important. That very moment when you sit to meditate, you have a choice. You put down the idea of the self and let mind be. Or you play like you're meditating. You can play for 5 kalpas. Do you really want to do that? Or do you want to get it in this lifetime? Never before have you been this close. You all can do it. You just simply have to sit. You don't have to block out the cascade. Let it go by. After a while, it'll just be a trickle. tiny trickle. And after that, nothing. But it doesn't mean that the cascade is gone. It's just your attachment or your idea that these thoughts are arising or cascading in mind and that are separate from you, or that you need to to stop them up, or you need to look at something. When you understand what you're doing on the cushion, it makes all the difference in the world. It truly is a matter of life and death. We don't understand it that way because we see things in the idea of life and death as in the samsaric realm. And you go, I'm prepared. I've made out my will. I've picked up my even my casket. So too close to you guys. Never mind. So the thing is that that's not it. The ancients talk about the great death. And every time I talk about the great death, I'm afraid people will start thinking I'm going to Jim Jones you or something, and offer you Kool-Aid, but it's not in that way. The reason that it's the great death is because it one ceases to have a notion that there's an ego or a life and being that is born and dies. That's liberation. Maybe they should, have a publicist that could come up with a better name for the great death. But it is liberation because then initially one realizes that they have a choice. And then later on, they see that there is a path and they can choose this way or that way. If you ask the scarecrow from the Wizard of Oz, he says, that way's pretty good. On the other hand, that way's pretty good too. He was wiser than everyone. There is no particular path. It is what is presented in front of you. When you sit to meditate, you have a choice. You already are versed in the principle. Now reflect that. Reflect that knowing, not an understanding like book learning or scholarship. If you were in a tough situation, would you want a scholar there to to be um, to be talking to you, or would you want somebody that's a, a bold warrior? You're not going to talk to death the foe. You have to be that bold warrior, that one that's is there and there and there, moment to moment to moment to moment. You can't break it. Mind just has to be there. Don't allow the ego to break that. It is in this way that you are applying the method. Your mind is clear. It stays clear. And then after a while, it's as if a rocket had gone from the earth and it gets weightless. We say, oh, this is liberation. No, it's not. But at least it is something that, because you still have sensations, but it's still, you've stopped all of the cascading. Not by stopping the cascading, but by seeing through it, knowing that it belongs to mind. And this feeling of equipoise, that everything is connected. There's a light liberation to that. And light here is kind of a dual purpose word. The clarity that's there and this lightness of being. You're not weighed down by the things. I mean, each of you today, I'm sure, have encountered something that put weight on you, unless you had a perfect day. Obviously, I didn't in that way. But I mean, you get stresses, but you let them go. Namo Amitofu, Namo Amitofu, Namo Amitofu. Let them go. You have ways to be able to be released from these. You're a practitioner. When you're sitting on that cushion, you have to bring your best game. You cannot, the people, when you see the people in the Olympics, even the ones that come in last wanted to win. Maybe they didn't really want to win as much as the ones that came in first. Maybe they're not as gifted. And if that's the case, then they won already just by participating. But you have to bring it every time you come to sit. When you get up off that cushion, every time likewise, it is in this way that you're serious about the practice. You don't phone it in. You're serious. When you're sitting there on that cushion, it's life or death. You choose. But you choose wisely what you're doing. It works. Honestly, it works. It works. And it works faster than you think it works. Much, much faster. But if you start going and patting yourself on the back and saying, "Oh, this was such a great thing. I'm very happy that this went this way," then you've blown it. But if you are just simply are there and you're clear about it, it's the one thought for 10,000 years, and you will know it. One day you'll know it. But then if you go, "Oh, Gilbert said the one thought for 10,000 years, I'm here now," then you'll go crashing down. But if you just put away that nonsense, you don't need to tell anybody about it. You know from the experience of it. Okay. I really wish I could just go, "Okay, here's this moon, take it." The only way I can do that is by showing you how to arrive at that point. Okay, that's it. If there's some questions, again, I apologize for coming in late, but I literally did my best to try to get here and to give you this lecture. So I hope you appreciate it. Amitabha. No questions? All these brave souls that came today. I appreciate you hanging in there and for Santa to pick up at the last moment, literally the last moment that was there, that I had actually had gone and I had checked in and everything, and then this whole system became unstable and I couldn't get back to it, is what happened. But in any case, okay, you have to let me know if this was helpful to you or not helpful to you, if there was something that I need to fine tune in what I'm presenting, or you just may want to just go to sleep.
Gilbert,
Yes.
this is Jenny. Let
Hello,
me
Jenny.
raise the hands. Couldn't find it, but anyway, I want to say thank you because I don't sit much. You can say I'm lazy or I'm more practical because I think you can only sit for a couple hours, but every day we kind of immerse into our daily life most of the time. So I keep my awareness and I keep the right view that you taught us. And I found out it's a great help because it gives me the relief, liberation outside of the sorrow, the relationship that I have with my mom, which struggle all lifelong, and it's all gone. And also relieve all the worries, all the always analytical, always want the best, or always very competitive, always very jealous, those things. It's just gone. And went through up and down emotionally, and also with my mother-in-law, with my husband. But hey, I'm happy, and I'm quiet, and I'm calm. And because my reaction, because my attitude, I also bring calmness to my family, to my in-law, to my husband. And sometimes my husband's emotion, because his job um, is very intense and it's like a roller coaster. But yet, because I'm calm, always be there and always, not criticize, or most importantly, hold up, not given advice. And seems that he sensed the calmness, and he has the trust, and he release his ego. Because I think people and people, no matter how close you are, there is a power struggle, especially for Asian men. Even that he's such a nice man, but I know deep in his heart, he want to be in control. And he want to be in control on everything. And because I know, and I really truly understand what you say by the spider netting the net, but shouldn't be content or shouldn't be limited by the web. Every moment we have thousands choice, but because we are stuck with what we want or what we focus, that we didn't see other choice. So I just be there. And then it changed. It changed dramatically. It's like a roller coaster. One day was like a no, and the other day was, oh, yes. And then second day, something pop up with him, and then his mood will change. But eventually he calmed down. And I really, really appreciate your teaching, because that released me of planting more seeds, more common seeds, karma seeds with him. I I don't write up the script, I love you, I hate you, and you're doing that or something, and just be there, because this is the relationship I have. And I really appreciate. And it turned out to be much, much better than I can ever imagine. I really appreciate your teaching. And I'm not like every time I join or every moment I sit, but I do hold your teaching almost every moment in the daily life, as much as I can. I should say that. Thank you.
This is thank you. This is the sincerity of the practice when we convert the moments from ignorance to wisdom. Little by little, it is in this way. But what Jenny has realized is that it works. It really works in your everyday life. If it didn't work there, what good is it? But it works there, and what you understand is that the self is the one that causes the problem, the one that knits the web, and limits itself because of that. once we let go of that, then the mind is free. But it works, and so she's kind of doing a testimonial, but it's important because you will find the more and more you practice, the more it will be this way. So thank you very much for that. Anybody else? No? Okay. I know it kind of like a curveball because you started out and it seemed like it was a perfect timing with Sentha that she ran out of questions when I popped up. But I thank you all for coming. Hopefully all of these connection problems will take care of themselves. But sometimes it's just the causes and conditions and the test to say how much I really want to share with you. And if you had been on my side watching what I was doing and going up and down the house, I even went to the car to try to see if I could get a signal. And so it's just that way. But it all worked out. So I'm very happy to have shared this with you. I was really wanting to to say this to you. So we'll pick it up next week, and hopefully everything will be fine with all of that.